In this session, we'll focus on some common date-related functions that we might need as and when we work on Excel. But first, let me also introduce you to the Formulas menu. Here under the Formula menu, you will find access to all the functions that are there in Microsoft Excel. It's just that they are segregated depending on the nature of the usage of those functions. For example, when I mention about date and time, here we have the date and time section, and we have all those dates and time related functions available over here. Now there is a possibility that we may not use most of these all the time. Probably these could be some specific niche segment work related. But yes, we do have some more functions here. For example, financial here. Now financial domain is quite huge. Maybe not everyone would be dealing in fixed income instruments or derivatives. So probably they may not use these functions. They might just stick to the PMT or time value of money functions and lot many things over here. So depends on your business usage. Accordingly, you will find your functions over here. Now logical functions, these are some common functions which you should know at the back of your hand. We'll discuss about them in a different session. Now text-based functions, these are the ones which can help you adjust the text the way you need it, or probably just extract some part of the text and maybe do some other activities as well. But it's everything to do with the text on the cell, on the Excel file. Everything to do whatever you have in the respective cells. Now further, we also have the lookup and reference functions. These will also be covered during our advanced Excel sessions. Further, now mathematical and trigonometric functions. Now these are extreme niche genre where you might not find everyone working on this, and these are highly specialized ones. So in case if someone is into statistical analysis or advanced calculations, you might want to use these. But this session would focus on some of the common advanced Excel functions that we need or commonly required. So if you want more functions, there are some more: statistical, engineering, cube, information-based functions, which will touch a couple of those and a lot more. Now, if you're using Microsoft Office 2019, the amount of functions that you see on your screen would be the limit. However, if you're using Office 365, or now called as Microsoft 365, with every update, or rather I would say with every major update, you might come across some new functions added to this list. So this list keeps on piling up, and there would be some old functions which may be deprecated or no longer in use. So now to begin with, let's start with the basic or the easiest way to get the date. Let's say I need to get today's date. There is a very good keyboard shortcut called Control. You need to hold down the Control key on the keyboard and hit semicolon once. You have this. That's today's date over here, and you see if you double click on this, it's editable. You can change anything that you need. Well, we also have a function in Excel called today. If I type today function and just close the bracket, that's it. You don't need to add any more parameters to this, and hit enter. Well, it does return the same date. Then the question arises, why should I use a control semicolon? Or why should I use a today function? Which one is best and which can be used when? But probably it totally depends on the nature of your requirement. To begin with, let's say I'm raising an invoice today and I have it on Excel, and this is the date I have entered. That's perfectly fine. I used a control semicolon. Now 5 days down the line, if I come back and check the invoice date, it still remains as Feb 3rd to 2021. However, if I were to use the today function, it will always show the date on which you have accessed the file. It will not change unless and until there would be a change of date. So this is a dynamic function and this is static. It will remain as it is. So you need to check where and how you need to utilize that whenever there is a need for today's date, and if there is a need for frequent or day-to-day update to be made on that date. So today function does the good job rather than manually entering control plus F. Control shift. You need to hold down the control key and the shift key on the keyboard and hit semicolon again, and then you get the time. Well, in case if you want the date and time together in a single cell, I can just do this, control semicolon, I get the date, space, control shift semicolon again, and I get the time as well. So we have the date as well as the time in a single cell. Well, we do have a solution. Well, Excel also has a function for this, and that's now. Again, no parameters required, just hit enter and you have this. So, well, again, the point is exactly the same. Here it is static and here it's dynamic. Now, since we also see the time here, maybe after a minute or so, if I were to update on any cell, I would see this date changing, which I will highlight right now. For now, just make a note of this. It's 14:23 as the time. And now, let me just do anything on Excel, like I type something like test or anything that I do and hit enter. That means there is an activity that has happened on Excel on this particular file. I hit enter and notice the date changed. This date changed over here. Now, so that means every time there is an event in Excel, be it opening the file or changing some cell or anything, this function updates and you will see the latest date and time over here. However, in case of today, you do not see any change because throughout the day, the date remains the same. It might change in case if you're working around midnight and it's just past midnight and you do some change like this on Excel and the date would update as well. Now, this is also applicable in case if you undo and redo as well, the cells would refresh, and that's how robust these functions are. Now, I would also take you across some more functions of Excel, but let me also get some more date over here. Let's say I have a start date. I take it as 1/1/2021. That's Jan 1st, 2021. And then I also need, and I take March 31st, 2021. So now we have the two dates over here, and we will explore some more functions of Excel, or we'll explore some more functions pertaining to date through these dates. First thing, I have something called as a day function. And what do we get in this day function? I select the date, or rather I'll just focus on the end date for now. Okay, but first let me just enter the day function. We have the day function and I select the date. Here I'm focusing on the end date only because it's for Jan 1st, 2021. May not see much of variation, but this is a good example here. And notice this over here, it asks for serial number. Now Excel recognizes dates in the form of a serial number. So don't be baffled if you enter a proper date somewhere and it shows in the form of numbers, something like 44,123. Okay, don't be confused, or it's nothing wrong with Excel. It's just that the cell was designed to be formatted as a number, and that's the reason you see this. Just change the format to short date or any other custom format, which I've explained earlier. Just for now, I'll select the short date. And here we have this. It's what? October 19, 2020. That's it. So there would be time when you would have just entered a random number and you do not see anything happening over here. It was supposed to be a number, but it appears like, let's say, a date. Now 3rd Jan 2038. All right, now that's crazy, right? Okay, but we have some date. Now this is not what I entered, and I had just entered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I hit enter. Excel takes it as a date. So I can just change this to number format, and that's perfect. Okay. Moving on. Let me undo this here. So Excel recognizes this as a serial number. Now, the next function that I would introduce you to would be month. Now, month function will return the month number. So we have month. I select the month the date. I select the date, hit enter, we get the month number. Similarly, we have the year, and I use the year function, select the date, close the brackets, and we have the year as well. Now, one might wonder what's the purpose of having day, month, and year separately. Well, it totally depends on your analytical requirements. Sometimes you do not want to see the entire date, or maybe you do not want to show the entire date to whoever you would be forwarding the report due to some confidentiality. But at least you would want them to know which year, or maybe up to a month level. They should know what was the sales for the month of March and so on. So maybe you might want to segregate this way. That's perfect. That's absolutely normal. And that is when this helps you out. You can have a separate column called month, and you can also have another column called year. And that's absolutely perfect. Now, well, I do see number 3 over here, but how do I get it as March over here? Well, that is something we'll discuss later. We do have an interesting function called as text. We'll discuss about that in some time. For now, moving on, there is another function which I would like to introduce. That would be weekday. Okay, now that's an interesting function here. I select weekday, select the date, and it's asking for return type. Now, since return type is mentioned in square brackets, that's completely optional. I might just close the brackets and hit enter, and it says 4. Now, this date falls on the 4th day of the week. Now, by default, Excel assumes or considers the first day of the week as Sunday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Let me put the dates over here. So we have the dates over here. And now if we start from Sunday, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's Wednesday. Would you want to cross-check that? Check on the date. It's 2021 falls on Wednesday. So that's perfect. Now let me show you something more. What if I have my week starting from Monday and not Sunday? I'll go with the formal calendar of maybe my business calendar, and I start my week from Monday. So I select Monday over here in this list. That's number 2 representing this format. Hit enter. And you see, if the count starts from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday falls 3rd. Further, we also have some more options here. That's what if the week starts from Monday, but 0 represents Monday and 6 represents Sunday. So there is no number 7 or the 7th day of the week. The count starts from 0. So Tuesday becomes 1. That's as good as this. Over here, that's the number 12 format, wherein Tuesday is 1, but Monday is 7. And we do not want that. We rather would want to see Monday as a 0. If that's what your requirement is, just select this and close the bracket. It should be showing us 2 because it's Wednesday. Well, you can work around with many other formats as well, and that's perfect. For now, I'll just leave this to Sunday. And yes, moving on, we also have another function called as week num. Let me just introduce this function again. So we use week number, and it returns the week number. So the week number starts from Jan 1st, 2021, or whichever the year is, and ends on December 31st. So here in this case, we are in 2021, and serial number it's asking for, that's technically the date. So I select this, comma. Now return type. Let's keep this aside for a moment, and I'll just close the bracket. That's an optional one. What do we get? The week number. It's 14. Now, how does this calculate or come up to 14th week? Let me show you. We have the calendar over here and January. The year starts from Friday. So we have first starting from Friday. So it's week 1 ends on Thursday. So we have 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. 5th week ends on 4th of Feb. 6th, 7th, 8th. 9th week also ends on March 4th. 10th week on March 11th. 11th week on March 18th. 12th week on March 25th, and 13th week on March, or rather April 1st. So this should be 13th week. But look at this. Our calendar does not start from Friday. It generally starts from Sunday. Hence, since I did not specify any week number, it's start assuming this to be first week, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 14th. So 31st, March 31st falls under 14th week. That's how it calculates, okay? But now, let's say my week starts from Thursday, or let's say Wednesday. First, I'll try Wednesday. I click comma. I select Wednesday and hit enter. Well, it's still the 14th week. You can do the calculation. Now, if not Wednesday, let's put it as Thursday and hit enter. Now, this is where we see a day less, or a week less over here. Now, remember when we calculated starting from Friday, the number of weeks came up to 13 and not 14. So I select that Friday as a start day of the week and see it's 13 weeks. And this is how we calculate the week number for the year. And this is how we calculate the week number for the year. Now further, let me just expand this slightly. Next we have days. We have days function. Now here, this is where we would make use of the start date and end date. This function helps you identify or retrieve. This function helps you get the difference between two dates. So we first select end date and then the start date. So end date, comma, start date, close the brackets, and you get 89 days. That's Jan 1st to 31 March or March 31st, 2021, and it's 89 days. Well, I wouldn't need a function to know that. I could have just hit equal sign, select the end date, minus the start date, and we have this. That's 89. Pretty straightforward. Excel has given you a function for your convenience. Now there's another function called as days 360. Now what exactly is this days 360? This function assumes there are 360 days in a year. That means every month has 30 days evenly spread. That's the core assumption. So we have days 360. We select this. Start date. Now first it's asking for start date, unlike the days function where it was asking for the end date. Here it asks for the start date first. Select the start date, select the end date. Now this is optional, the method. And why do we see this false US NASDAQ method and European method? Well, this is generally to do with your bond market calculations. Both of them have different approaches there, and hence you get those options, but that's completely optional. For now, we'll just focus on this function. So it's January, February, March. It's 3 months, each month having 30 days. So that's total of 90 days. Now it doesn't matter whether January has 31 days, February has only 28 days, or whether on certain years they have 29 days. It does not matter. Excel assumes or considers each month has 30 days just like any other month in the year. And that's the days 360. Now, I would also like to introduce you to another function called as date. It's a date function. It helps you convert dispersed components of a date, combine them together and convert it into a date format. Let me just give you an example here. So date, it asks for first specify the year and then month and then day. So we have the year over here, comma, the month, comma, day. You just need to select this, close the bracket and hit enter. Now what's the point of this? Why do we need this? Well, in case if you have these dates spread across different areas, or maybe you are just extracting a part of the date and you are clubbing it with something else. For example, I need date and I want the date to appear as April 1st, 2021. So, or rather I would say April 1st of the current year. So I have already the date over here. So I might just first select the year. So I'll make use of the year function and select the date. So this year function will pick up only the year. Then I need the month. Now month is April, so I can just hit enter number 4 and 1st of April. So that's 1 and close the bracket. And here we have the date. Maybe you need some dynamic dates from this starting point, then date function can help you out there as well. We'll dig into this further as we proceed with some other functions that can help you with better organizing your dates and further calculations as well pertaining to dates. Now let us proceed further. Alright, so I scroll down and here it appears like a fresh one. Now this is an exercise over here for you as well, but first I'll explain you and then we'll try. Okay, so first there are some functions that we'll be working on now specific to date. Let me give you the name of functions. One is eDate, EO month, and then there is yearFrac. Now these are the 3 functions which I want to emphasize on. Let us get some assumptions here.